Welcome to the Impactful Entrepreneur Show with Adrienne Hill, a place for online business industry expertise and thought leadership, where you can build the skills, structure, and systems you need to thrive in business and have a lasting impact in your industry. Let's do this. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am super excited to be here with you with yet another power-packed speaker. We are here with the one and only Eddie Villa, and he's a marketing and strengths coach. Now, he specializes in helping people get clear with their message and with themselves, break through hesitation to become consistent and produce daily results using their unique talents, which is super important in the world of social media, where we're all trying to figure out how to be seen, how to be noticed, how to build a brand, right? And it's easier said than done. So we absolutely could never have a topic, cover something like this without Eddie. So Eddie, I'm so excited that you're here. I can't wait to dig in.
Thank you, Adrienne. This is going to be awesome. I'm super excited. Let's do
Yes,
this.
me too. And while we were, I want to share just a tiny little story with you guys. If you haven't met Eddie yet, when we first met and we were first talking, within a matter of minutes, we were just kind of like getting to know each other and talking about various things. Within a matter of minutes, he knew my personality. He knew things about me. And it was just really fascinating to see the way his mind works, that he's a fascinating guy. So for anyone in the audience who maybe has not met you yet, and this is their first time meeting you, do you want to tell us just a little bit about you and your story, and how did you become an expert on all things personality and seeing people in such a unique way? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I thank you, and I love talking with people and loving on who they are and finding out what's great about them and just appreciating it and honoring it as much as I can. So I'm so glad that you appreciated that. Some people are a little weirded out when I can tell about things about them. But here, just to kind of understand me, I think what's important for people to understand is why this is a love, more than just a love for me. This is an obsession. And that brings up so much joy because I've been in so many dark places. And in particular, one of many, I would say, was when the Eddie that you're seeing was really born, was when my wife and I had moved to a brand new state, knew nobody, and I had gotten a new job because I had just been fired from another job. And I just kind of wanted to try again and just kind of go all in. And it really, when you get fired, it goes to work on your belief in yourself. It's an ultimate rejection. It's like, not only am I going to reject you, but I'm going to take money away from you. It's like, and at that time I had 5 children. Right now I have 7. And so we moved to a whole new area. But what I learned was, when I went into this new job with the same kind of mindset that had led me to getting fired from that other job, that this new company fired me within 30 days. And so in a whole new area, knew nobody, and I get fired within 30 days. And so I would say the birth of this whole process of like understanding why to do what I do came from me walking home carrying a box of my things. I had a box of my things that was sitting on my desk, like a plant and pictures and stuff like that. And I'm carrying it home. And I'm carrying it home because I didn't have the guts to call my wife and tell her I'd been fired again. So I walked like 4 miles trying to figure out, what am I going to say to her to not leave me? You know what I mean? I know I'm messing up right now, but I promise I'll figure it out. Right. But my problem was that, it's easy for me to find jobs, but my problem was that if I found another job, I felt like this process would just keep going. And the reason I got fired is because, honestly, I struggled with working really hard for a company and every single month having to audition for my job, and the more and more I grew in the company, the more and more they would demand of me, the more time I would lose. Like I went on salary, which meant I worked 24 hours a day, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. So, long story short, the biggest problem, because we're talking about clarity, right? This is why I love doing what I do, because I want to help people be clear. And in this moment, I have never had more clarity, or I should say lack of clarity, really, because in that moment, I chose to believe that when they fired me, it meant I was no longer valuable. And that was it right there. When I chose to believe I was no longer valuable, right, I started to act as if I wasn't valuable. So it was right at that time that my wife and I got introduced to a network marketing company that we really believed in the product. So we said, all right, let's just do that. Let's not work for anybody anymore. Let's just go do that. But because I had been fired twice, I was in such a fragile state that I couldn't handle the no's you get when you start a network marketing company. I was getting no's left and right. And it was worse because I was acting out of total desperation. I've never been more unclear in my life during that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just decided I'm just going to be a stay-at-home dad. And I'm going to tell my wife, you do this and I'll back you up. I'll make sure the kids are taken care of. I'll make sure all the food is prepared. I'll do everything. I'll clean the house. You go build our business while I just do this. And she was like gung-ho and rocked it. And that's why I realized that there is such a thing as getting lost in parenthood. Like I didn't know who I was anymore. I was doing videos every day and putting them on YouTube, just talking about my kids and me playing with my kids. And I know that sounds like a wonderful dad thing to do, but I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And so cut to many years later, our network marketing business is doing well. And I got to quit this little job I took just to make ends meet while we were growing it. And now I'm at home and we have a successful business that my wife built. And I have still no clue who I am. And I have no idea what I'm supposed to do, what my value is. If somebody were to come up to me and say, Eddie, just be yourself, I wouldn't know how to do that. So that's when God got involved, which plays a big part in my life. And he introduced me to this concept of strengths. And that's when
like, hey, you are valuable, Eddie. You do have strengths. Like there's amazing, incredible things about you. And is that when you started to lean in and recognize that you put away that belief that you're not valuable? Please tell me.
I did. I really did, because I looked at the strengths, the way strengths is, it shows that not only am I valuable, but I'm also infinitely unique. And I think I made that word up. I don't think anybody uses that word. Infinitely unique. What that means is that I'm different. You're different, Adrienne. We're all different than anybody that's ever been or ever will be. Like there is, even though we have some similarities, bottom line is we're different. And if I'm different, that means that I have something infinitely unique to bring to the world, to people. And if I have something infinitely unique to bring to the world, what is it? And how do I do it? How do I figure it out? And so I spent to kind of wrap this story up, I spent November, it was December of 2019 that I decided all this learning I was doing about strengths, and I got certified and I was coaching hundreds of people to understand this. In November or December of 2019, I made a decision that 2020 was going to be the year that I'm going to just be me every single day.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what was about to happen. Right.
Yeah.
So by March 2020, when the whole world went through beginning phases of its great reset, right? By March of 2020, I had momentum. I created a podcast called Unleash Your Strengths, where I documented my journey of understanding my strengths and understanding how I am infinitely unique and how to be me step by step and so on. By March 2020, when the world is going backwards, I was going forward faster than I've ever been in my life. And I started this community called Unleash Your Strengths, the mission of Unleash Your Strengths. I wrote 2 books within a year and a half that helps people understand that they are massively valuable and there's a step-by-step to it. And so that's where this whole thing came from, was me just like knowing what it feels like to not know who you are.
Yeah.
And to feel like you have to be something you're not in order to get what you want.
Yeah. Well, first of all, what I love about your story, it's incredibly vulnerable. And I think it rings true for so many of us, like, especially for those of us who are entrepreneurs and we're building businesses on social media. It's such a loud, competitive place. It's so hard to find your voice, to find yourself, right? And so for those of you watching, what I love about Eddie, I just have to edify him for a minute here of, if you're learning from a coach who's been fed from a silver spoon and they've never had a day of struggle in their entire life and everything they touch turns to gold.
Yeah.
Can that coach really help you through hard times? Like, probably not, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, Eddie, what you went through was crazy. To get fired from 2 jobs in a row. Like, I can only imagine how that messes with your head, right?
Yeah, it was a traumatic experience. And I should have gone through therapy, to be honest. And I would tell anybody, if you've gone through an experience like that, you go to therapy, find someone who will listen to you talk. I didn't do that because I didn't do that. I spent 3 years of my life hating who I was. Yeah. And that's time is gone. It's lost. And what I want to do is I want to help other people not lose that time. and
Yeah.
go bring value to the world, growing a business or whatever.
And I guarantee there's people watching right now in this moment who either feel that way in this moment or they've been there in the recent past, and then on top of it, to start a new business venture while you're in this place of mental struggle and push through everything it takes to do that. Even if, like you said, you were on the supportive end, supporting your wife, supporting anyone in building a business is wicked hard. I mean, it is hard to do. And to not only come through all of that, but then find your strengths as a coach who helps other people find their strengths. Like, it's just a really cool, incredible story. I'm so excited that you're here.
Thanks.
So I know for those watching, we're all here because we're wanting to build businesses. We're wanting to leverage social media. We're wanting to find our voice. Man, that is easier said than done, right? It's a really hard thing to do. And so I know, the advice that everyone hears over and over when it comes to sharing content on social media, you have to speak to their interests, not yours, right? That tiny acronym, their interests, not yours. Like, speak to what other people want to hear, right? But at the same time, be your authentic self. Like, be yourself, but talk about what other people want. Like, it seems like such a oxymoron, conundrum. I don't know the word, but I think that's like at the crux of all of this is like, how do you really be your authentic self, yet also speak to what other people want? Do you have any advice?
So one of my, so we're talking about strengths briefly. One of my lowest strengths is a strength called harmony. And what that means is, it doesn't mean that I can't, be harmonious or whatever, but it means that for me to go through trying to do a business or produce on social media, beginning with the concern about what other people will or won't think or feel. If I begin, me personally, if I begin with that process where I'm concerned about what they'll think or feel, then I will shut down. And no matter what I do, if I come from me personally, if I come from that mindset, no matter what I do, it will be inauthentic. It will not come from me. It will not be energized. I won't have joy whatsoever while doing it. And let's be honest, if I'm going to create content for people, if I'm not enjoying it, how good could that content possibly be?
True.
There's no way. It's a what I would call it is it's a venture into mediocrity, right?
Yes.
To try to develop a weakness, for example. So when it comes to speaking to other people's interests, but doing it in a way that's authentic to me, the way I look at it is that if I'm going to talk about something, I only talk about what I know. Like you would tell, like any writer would say, I only write about what I know. And so what writers tend to write about is the things that they've experienced or know. That's why a lot of their writing is autobiographical. Well, I feel like our business is autobiographical. And if you have a passion for a business because of something personal for you, and it doesn't have to be something that you personally went through, it's just something that you personally connect with, right? If you have a personal interest in a personal venture or a personal commitment or a message inside of a topic, then for me, the way I do it is I speak to that. And then I allow my audience to decide whether or not it interests them.
Yeah.
So like when you say speak or teach to other people's interests, I begin with the thing that I am passionate about. And I'll talk about this in a second, more importantly. And then I'll allow the people out there that relate to it to come. It's almost like I'm calling to my target market so that I can know what my target market is.
Yeah. Like you're sharing things that you are genuinely interested and passionate about, and you're trusting that the other people out there in the world who are also interested and passionate about those things will find you and go, hey, me too. Like, I feel that way too.
And that's, and I come from this from a desire to be certain about what I speak about, right? Because some people will say, I just want to be confident. And for me, I'm like, one of the first things I learned when I hired a coach was there's a difference between confidence and certainty. Like if somebody were to come to me and say, Eddie, are you confident you can help me believe in me and do the work? No, I'm certain. There's a difference. And so if I'm going to market something, then I'm going to market what I am certain about. And if I market what I'm certain about, then the right people go, oh my gosh, you're speaking to me. It's one of the greatest compliments anybody's ever given me was someone say, Eddie, it felt like you were talking to me personally. And as I've understand strengths more and more, I get that like gargantuanly more than I used to when I first started just talking about whatever.
Yeah.
So many people like that. That's one of the common feedback I get from people is, Eddie, it felt like you were in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Or some people will go, is this dude have cameras in my house videotaping
Like, is
me?
he watching me right now?
Is he watching? Yeah. Like for you, like how I knew you at the beginning of every day, you've got your sheet of paper out and you got your list going, right? Like, and not everybody starts that way. That's how you start. But that's the kind of things that I love helping people see. That's a part of what's wonderful about you. And let's honor that with everything you do. So we go faster and we get what we want. Because our business, especially those of us that are starting out, our business is only successful because we are consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Most of us don't have the money to hire help.
Right.
So if we're not consistent, the business isn't consistent, the money isn't consistent. And then we end up going to go work for people, which I'm not saying that's a horrible thing. We do need people to work for people. But if that's not your goal, and
if you're trying to be an entrepreneur and you're trying to not work for someone else.
Yeah. It's the fuel this machine right here. And it's not just food. It's, of course, it's food, nutrition, exercise. Yes. But also strengthening your mind with belief in yourself so that you can stay consistent and those kind of things.
Yeah. And I know there's so many people on social media. They're trying to get their message out. They're trying to share the value they have. And let's be honest, building on social media is tough. I mean, it's a loud and crowded place. It's hard to stand out, right? It's hard to find your tribe. A lot of people can relate to that. And so there's a lot of people they're struggling. So they think, well, maybe I need to be more like this person over here. Or maybe I need to be more like that person over there. Maybe I should try writing a post the way they wrote, or try talking about a topic similar to what this person talked about. And so they're looking at someone else's post that has like hundreds or thousands of engagements. They make a similar post and it gets 0. And they're going, what? Why? And what you're saying is, instead of picking a weakness or saying, I think I need to be like so-and-so, you're saying, figure out what your strengths are and just lean into those.
Do what brings you joy.
Mm-hmm.
Like what one of the things I'm really into right now and trying to understand is reels.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm a secondary, like a strategic thinker, which means you ask me a simple question, you never get a simple answer. Right? You know, like my father-in-law would say, if you ask Eddie what time it is, he'll tell you how the watch is made. Right. And so for me to try to communicate quickly a message in a reel, like 5 seconds, 10 seconds, that's a real challenge, right? It's a challenge.
Yeah.
So I'm getting into this idea of reels. But then when you look at what's popular in reels, like I remember when I first started getting into it, I saw a lot of people dancing. And so a lot of us don't want to do reels or TikTok because they see a lot of people dancing. And they think, oh, I don't want to do dancing, but reels have nothing to do with dancing. That's just someone's way of doing something. And that's their way. What I've learned is that, there's a billion different ways you can do a reel. And in fact, there's a different way that you can do a reel for every single human being currently on the planet. So since everyone on the planet is different, that means there's a different way to do a reel.
Yeah.
And so what I would challenge a person is like, if you were going to do something fun, what would you do? And you could look at what other people do to give you ideas, but do something that lights you up, that brings you joy. And I've found taking audios that people that are funny from like TV shows or movies that other people use that I find when I scroll on reels. This is my way of doing reels, right? So I'll scroll on reels for about 5 minutes or maybe 3 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. And I'll just listen to audios. And I'm like, oh, I like that audio. So I'll save that audio. And then when I go to do a reel, I'll just do a reel with that audio in a way that makes me laugh or makes me think or makes me have fun. And then I post those. And what I found that even though I only have about 5,000 followers right now on Instagram, I found that some of my reels like that go between 8 or even 11,000 views. Now, I'm not saying that's the end all, but what we're trying to do is get more exposure. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah. So being me works because being me is how I work consistently.
Right. You're never going to be consistent about creating anything if you're trying to be someone else.
Oh gosh, yes. I don't, if there is that thing, I don't know how to teach it. So you're following the wrong guy if you want that. What I try to do is say, look, how about you just be you since you're being you anyway, and just do that. That's why I love stories in reels. Stories in reels are fun because you're just like, you know what? I'm I have a arcade game in my house where I love to play Dig Dug.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I thought, you know what? I just broke my own record on Dig Dug. I got 100,000 on Dig Dug. So I thought, you know what? What the heck? I'll share that on a story. So I
Yeah.
shared that on a story, and it has nothing to do with my niche. Who cares about my niche? You're just sharing a story. You're letting people in on your personal life.
Yeah.
And I think we have to do this. You have to stand out and just be you. And it's easy if you just go, oh, well, I got Legos in my office. How many people have Legos and a picture of Christ right next to it? That's weird, right?
Yeah.
So we talk about
it's Addie.
it's yeah, like look at my background, right? I got Christ right here. I've got my strengths right here. I've got a quote that I wrote, and then I got Rocky over here, and I got toys. I got, Star Wars, and I got Legos, and I'm just being me. And I don't care if other people like it or don't like it. What matters is I like it. It makes me happy. It brings me joy.
Yeah.
And that's why I do social media, because I just want to share what I love, and it makes me happy.
Yeah.
Some people like these things. And oh, by the way, when I did that Dig Dug thing, I had people that have been following me for years who have never commented on anything suddenly get engaged.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where have you been? And then I've been talking about this forever and I never once see you. All of a sudden I talk about Dig Dug and here you go. Now, why is that a good thing? Because in social media, especially on Facebook and Instagram, people, when they interact with your stuff, they start to see your other things.
Correct.
So this is huge.
And really, social media is just 1,000 opportunities where someone can relate to you.
Yeah.
In tiny ways. Like in your case, people related to the Dig Dug thing. Right? But how many times, for those of you watching, have you been scrolling and something stopped your scroll and you looked at a funny meme or you read someone's post and you just thought, this is my people. This is right. This is my kind of person.
Yeah.
So being authentically yourself, just truly being yourself and trusting that the people who are just like you will, or who resonate or can relate to you, are going to find you. They're going to interact with you. They're going to discover you.
Yeah. And you got to, and it be it as high as you can. I mean, we're trying to connect with this little camera, you know what I mean? And you got this little camera trying to capture who you are. So what I always try to tell people, be obviously you. Be so you that it's obvious. It's what I would call big without being loud and waving your hands like I'm doing now. But just be so obviously you that they connect with it through the little camera.
Yeah.
And that, oh my gosh, social media becomes fun.
Yeah.
It becomes fun
again. Yeah. Now, I know for tons of people, they're like, yeah, whenever I post my personal stuff, whenever I post stuff about who I am as a person, I get engagement. Then the minute I try to share information about my business, crickets. Yeah. Right. So when it comes to being crushing it with authenticity, yet also building a business, do you have any advice for the audience on how they can start making that shift?
Yes. Let me give a couple of thoughts, and I'm going to start with that one, and I'll be brief on that one.
Yeah.
People will, on social media, will interact with you saying, I got a new job. And they'll say, congratulations, woo. And you'll get all the love and the hearts and all the things. But if you say, I started a new business, crickets, right? Now, the reason that we're getting crickets, and this is what I understand now when it comes to social media, is that they're really watching those posts. And they're really paying attention to what you're doing, because the average person does not build businesses.
Yeah.
The average person goes and gets jobs. So they'll just say, oh, look, cool, we're the same, and they connect. But when you decide you're going to go build a business, or you're going to share a milestone in your business, or you're going to say, for example, when I wrote this book, I wrote this book here to tell the story of getting fired twice and helping people understand that, you do have value. It's kind of fun. Actually, you can see in the cover, this is, there's a corporation there, and there's a guy who's chained to the corporation.
Yeah.
And eventually we break free and become unleashed, if you will.
I love it. And isn't that what we all want, right?
Yeah.
As entrepreneurs, for sure.
Absolutely. So when I told the world that I wrote this book, crickets, a lot of crickets. And that really bothered me. I'm like, hey, man, it's not easy to write a book. And I've written two.
Yeah, it's hard to
It's
write a book. Come
hard.
on, guys. Like, come
But
on, right?
this means something to me. This is my legacy book. This is the book I'm going to train my kids, because there's a lot of my story in here. I train my kids, how to read this book and why it's for them. And then I'm going to teach them to teach their kids to read this book and so on. Because I want my grandkids to learn from my struggles.
Yeah.
Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is when I started telling people about how I wrote that book, crickets, like dead air, nobody engaged, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I know they paid attention, because when I started texting all of my closest friends that live in the area and told them that I wrote a book, and then I did this is bold, right? But I had a book signing event.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I paid a few grand to rent out a place, decorate it up, had hors d'oeuvres and all kinds of stuff. And I sent personal text messages to about 40 people locally that were my friends.
Mm-hmm.
28 or 29 of them showed up, but every one of them said, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Congratulations, Eddie. I'm so happy for you." Right. Mm-hmm. And so my point in bringing that up is when I engaged them, they were like, "Oh, so interested." And what I'm learning is that when you share your business and the things that you're trying to do that's different, people can't relate instantly. What we have to do is we have to engage them with the story of why we did it, why we wrote it, or why we created the business to begin with, so that they can relate to it. But I guarantee you they're watching. They're watching. And they're not just watching to see if you're going to fail or succeed. They're watching because they want to know how you're doing it, because they want to do it. So anytime you're starting a business or sharing a post, trust me, they're watching it. And they are watching you, and they're curious to see if you're going to do anything with it or stick with it. Those posts where you say, "I got a new job," or "Oh my gosh, I crashed my car. This is terrible. And, everyone's fine, but my car has to go to the shop." A million comments.
Because everyone can relate to that.
Yeah, they can relate to that and dismiss it.
Mm-hmm.
They dismiss it. They
comment in the moment and they never think of it again.
Never. But this book, if you write a book or start a business, they're watching that.
It might be hard for them to relate, because most people are not actually brave enough to start a business.
It's not easy.
So they're watching, but they don't really engage with you until you share something they can relate to.
Like why?
Like why? Not what the business is, but why you started it.
Like, let's be honest, Adrienne, if I told you I went and bought, hey, Adrienne, I've been really looking to invest money into businesses, and I went and I bought 5 car washes. Snooze.
Yeah.
Right. But what if I told you about, like, my uncle owned car washes, and when I was a kid, I used to idolize my uncle. And when he passed away, I said, I want to be like my uncle. And finally, one day I made enough money so I can go buy 5 car washes, and I named them all after my uncle.
That's going to land totally different on social media, for sure. Yeah.
That's not even a true story. And I got emotional.
Yeah. I was like, wow, this is deep.
Right. So what we get to do with the things that we want to do is share why we are doing them. Mm-hmm. Tell the story. My goodness, ladies and gentlemen, tell the story.
Yeah.
I mean, if you felt compelled to do something crazy as start a business, then tell them about how you became compelled to do that.
Like the deeper layers underneath, not just the surface layer. Like, go deeper. Share.
Don't hide. My gosh, this book, and I love bringing this book because I am brutal. I talk about a pornography addiction that I had when I was a kid, because my father had a drawer full of porno magazines in the bathroom. When I was growing up, I went to the bathroom and I opened the drawer and there's a bunch of magazines, and I'm like 9 years old, and I'm like,
I don't know what this is.
And I start going through this stuff and developed a pornography addiction. I talk about how those things affected me. And the reason why I want my kids to understand this stuff, so they understand these things, they're not afraid of it. And what I want people to do is to be brutally honest, take your freaking heart out, cut it open and show people it's bleeding and say, look, I care about this.
Yeah.
And all I want you to do is look at it and consider that maybe it could help you too.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I don't know how to market any other way.
Yeah.
I don't.
You're just brave enough to be vulnerable, be vulnerably, authentically yourself, even if the stuff you're talking about might be hard to talk about.
It is. And and I learned this, and tip for everybody. If you really want to inspire people, be vulnerable. It is the guaranteed go-to tool to inspire someone else to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because
I, I,
honestly, how many of us have things in our life going on, vulnerable moments that we're hiding from everyone because it's painful to talk about?
yeah.
The one person who's brave enough to share, like, holy cow.
Yeah. If you want to get someone's attention, talk about things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can tell you 90%, maybe 95% of the people that are on social media sharing and teaching, zero vulnerability, none. And me personally, I'm not saying the whole world is like this. I only react to vulnerability. I only react to brutal honesty.
Yeah.
You know, this is why I follow, like, I got to drop a couple names. One of my favorite people to follow is Ray Higdon,
Yeah.
because I feel like I know that man's whole life, because I've been watching him and following him for so years. It was a point in time where I was one of his top affiliates when I
Mm-hmm.
was first learning affiliate marketing.
Yeah.
And I got to be a little closer with them, just kind of like there was a brief time.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, just these kind of people show me who I want to be. I want to be the person on stage that helps them go, you can be here, totally be here. And you don't have to be anything else that you see on the stage. You can just be you, and you can bring something no one's ever seen before
Mm-hmm.
just by being you. This is why there's a lot of personalities that aren't really represented very well on social media, because it's not natural to want to be, you know, that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Now, I want to share something really quick, just because for those of you watching, I've been reading Eddie's other book. He has multiple books, by the way. But
Yeah,
I
I'm
just
working on my
wanted to
third
read
now.
this one little piece because this really hit me. It's like, I'm not much of an underliner when I read books. I'm just kind of like, I whip through and I read them, but I actually underlined a couple of these things that jumped out at me. And
Yeah.
I want to share them because I hope it inspires the audience a little bit. So there are 7.7 billion people in the world. I mean, that's a lot of people, right? We know that. And a lot of them are on social media, right? So there's a lot of potential, but there's also a lot of what feels like competition, right? It's hard to stand out and it's hard to feel unique, you know? So what Eddie was sharing in this book is take those 7.7 billion people, okay? If you look at your unique personality, all the facets that come together to make you who you are, even if we just look at like the top 5 little slices of your personality, right? The chances of having the same top 5 as someone else in the world, there would basically be 27,500 people who have the same top 5 as you. That's out of 7.7 billion.
Yeah.
Which is pretty unique. If you drill it down to the top 6 instead of the top 5, you're standing there with 234 people.
Out of 8 billion.
Out of 8 billion. Like, you really are more unique than you think you are.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same point, there's lots of people who might find relatable moments to you if you're just brave enough to share them. Right.
One of the points I'm making there was that if you take the infinitely unique combination of talents and strengths or beliefs or core values that a person has,
Mm-hmm.
and those are, we'll call them tools, right? These are the tools I got to operate with. But then you bring in the infinitely unique combination of experiences you've had since the day you were born.
Yeah.
That's like, there is never going to be a you, ever. And what I've tried to help people is believe that's true. It's absolutely true. Because what we do is we go through life thinking that our problems are unique, but our talents and who we are is common.
Mm.
We go through life thinking that. And so this is one of the reasons why we don't get vulnerable, because we think, like, I thought I was the only child that developed a pornography addiction. That's a lie. There are tons of people who have that problem. Tons. Yeah. Maybe even some of your listeners right now, right? Or maybe they even have situations where they're going through that right now. That's a problem. And all problems are common. If at least one person has ever had your problem, then that problem is far more common than you. So the truth is, our problems are common and we are infinitely unique. That means no matter what the problem is, even if we believe we were the ones that caused the problem, we are still the solution. All we got to do is just be who we are at a high level.
Now, be who you are, be authentic. These are phrases that we hear a lot and they sound great. Like, anyone would hear that and be like, yeah, I want to do that. Like, I want to be myself. I want to be unique. I want to be brave. I want to be vulnerable. How?
Yeah, that's my favorite question. Okay, so this is to the audience real quick. The next time somebody just joyfully gives you the advice, just be yourself, which sounds like great advice. Even One of my favorite authors, I'm forgetting his name all of a sudden. I can see him. He wrote Start With Why, Simon Sinek.
Yeah.
He would say, just be you. But if I walked up to Simon Sinek and I said, okay, Simon, you told me to be me. How do I do that? I guarantee deer in headlights.
Mm-hmm.
Ask anybody, right? Well, what I've learned is through this assessment is how, like specifically, step by step, if I tell you how to be you step by step, then you go, oh, okay, that's who I already am. And I'm like, yeah, brilliant. That's
Now
exactly
just lean
right.
into it.
Lean into it. Like, yeah. And then you get to embrace, the wonderful joy of fear.
Yeah.
and you become an expert in fear, because the more authentic you are, the more you will experience fear and resistance and wonderful feedback from other people who wish they could be authentic like you. And all that fun joy gets to follow.
Yes. Yes.
But the bottom line is you're being you.
So basically, we need a common language. We need a way and terms to use to speak about who we are,
right,
so that we can have a common knowledge to talk about it, so that you can say, hey, so-and-so, your strengths are XYZ. So for you, if you were to create content that looked like this, or if you were to show up in this way, you're going to be leaning into your strengths, and do that for a couple weeks or a couple months, and see what happens.
Yeah. What you're tapping into is, I'm going to do the work that creates results and joy. So I'm going to do the work that gets results, and I'm going to do it in a way that is me, so that I also have joy. Nobody wants to watch a person create content that they're struggling to create. It's not fun. If it's not fun for you to create it, it's not going to be fun for us to consume it.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
So if we do it our way, and this is one of the reasons why I'm trying to figure out, I'm always trying to figure out ways to make that easier for people to get. So like I've created this quiz called the leadership quiz, which is like, how do you lead? Right. And it's free, you can get it. But
yeah, speaking of which, so this is a free gift Eddie brought to the table for you guys. For those of you watching and realizing, I want to know my strengths, I want to lean into them, I want to know how should I be showing up on social media to start getting better results. There's a free gift. There'll be a button somewhere around this video, maybe below it. Look around. There's a button that says get the free gift. So yeah, tell us all about the gift, Eddie. We'd love to hear.
So what I've learned is that each and every one of us do 4 things our own way, right? We connect with people, right? In one way or another, right? And I don't mean all, some of us only connect with a select few. Some of us connect with a lot of people, right? But the bottom line is we connect with people, we'll call them the right people, our way. And we all inspire people our own way. Some of us are loud and wave our hands, and some of us just support people. We do it differently. Some of us, and then we all get things done. Some of us get things done better when we're by ourselves. Some of us get things done better when we're around other people. And we all are creative. Some of us are really good at standing in front of a big white dry erase board and writing things out. And some of us are better just masterminding and connecting with other people and learning that way. But the bottom line is we all connect, inspire, produce, and create our own way. What I've created this quiz to do is to help a person decide which one of these do they want to begin with. And if they start with one of those 4, then they can see how they do all the other ones their way. For example, the majority of your audience is going to be connecting relationship type people. And so they connect with people, which means that they love to connect. They love to be of service. They don't want to make it about them. They don't like to be on camera when they're doing their social media. They rather take pictures of their dog or their kids or the thing that they sell or whatever. And so what they want to do is they want to inspire other people through the desire to connect.
Yeah.
And so they want to meet with people one-on-one. And so if I had somebody in front of me who was like this, what I would call a connector, then I would say, meet with somebody you want to connect with and ask them questions about what they want and where they want to go and how you can be of support and love to them. And the more questions you ask and understand them, the more you will connect with them, the more you will know how to help them be inspired to move forward with you, the more you will know what to do, which means how to produce, and the more ideas you will get and how to come up with your own strategies even. Mm-hmm. It's amazing how strategic a connecting person can be when they're around people who are talking about what they need. All of a sudden, the connector becomes very creative, right? Versus the opposite, which is a connector or a creator, or what I would call them a thinker, right? A thinker is somebody that would come up with strategies and ideas before they even talk to people. They already have all the strategies. They have all the ideas. They have all the information and resources. And then they take all that information and then they go to someone who needs it. And then when they find someone who needs it, suddenly they become connected. And then they go, oh, we're connected now. How do I help you move forward? Because what I want to do is now move. I'm a mover. Now they become movers, right? Mm-hmm. Movers are the people that move people forward. Mm-hmm. And now they become a movers because they've shared that information with somebody that they've connected with. And then they become movers. And then they become producers. Hey, now that we've connected, now that I've shared knowledge, now that we've connected, now that we're deciding to move forward together, let's make a list. And then make a list and then get things done, versus like someone like you who's a producer. We start with the list. A connector starts with the connection. The mover starts with the group of people to move. What do I call again? The producer is let's make a list of what needs to be done. And the thinker starts with the information, resources, ideas, visions, and so on. And so the purpose of this leadership quiz is to figure out which one of these four are you energized by beginning with, so that you do all the others fully authentically, your way.
Which makes sense because it's the start that stops most people.
Yes.
And so if you knew what energy to start with, you could make so much more progress so much quicker.
Yeah, because you're defining how. Like
your best way. Your best way to do it.
Your best way. Because people look at, I want to be really good on Instagram, but I don't want to be like those loud people. That's definitely not a mover, right? Mm-hmm. Definitely. So we can already go, okay, well, you're not going to be waving your hands and telling a lot of stories and being all big and dramatic, right? There's a different style and energy you're going to bring to your social media versus someone who goes, who looks at social media as very unproductive. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to do? Take pictures of my food and share recipes? How boring. That's not going to get me anything done. However, right, if you're a producer, the kind of person who makes lists, for example, then you're going to want your social media to be a systematic type process. Like my wife is a producer, and what she does is she'll just kind of go, okay, right now I have time. I'm going to do as many reels as I possibly can. And so it's a systematic process, right? So she's a producer. So she'll go and record like 10 reels and not even know what the topics or the content is going to be. She'll just record videos with audios that make her laugh. And then now she's got like 10 or 20 batched reels that she will systematically release every day, sometimes twice a day. Because that's her systematic approach. For me, it's all about impulse. I'm a mover, which means that if I feel it, I'm going to move it. So I could be walking down the street and go, I got a great idea for a reel. Boom. And then I have to record it right then and there.
Because that's when you're feeling it. That's when you're ready to move the idea you just had into reality, basically.
Yeah. And I'm like totally into like moving other people with it. Like what excites me is thinking that there's people on the other end watching. And there might be someone who might even, and they need it. Exactly. And that fires me up whenever somebody messages me back and goes, Eddie, I don't know how you did it, but you knew exactly what I needed to hear today.
Yeah.
And to me, that's honoring my desire to be impulsive. That's the mover, right? The one who just goes, I just want to move people. I want to tell people. I want to inspire people. Some movers want to just tell people what to do, and they need to see them do it, in order for them to feel fulfilled. Because like what I'm learning is that movers only feel like they're moving if the people around them are moving. If they feel like the people around them aren't, they feel like they aren't. And then even if they are, It's like sad, you know,
Yeah.
where
That's
producers don't care.
interesting.
Producers are like, I'm good. I'm doing what I need to do.
Like
That's
I'm
all that
doing my
matters.
thing here. So I'm
Yeah.
sure those watching, even just this glimpse into each of these personalities, you're probably realizing like, well, I think I'm that one, but maybe I'm a touch of this one. Like, which one should I start with? The answer is grab the free gift, take the quiz, know for sure.
Yeah.
And you'll know it'll be the first step into stepping into your own authenticity in a way where you're leaning into what you're good at.
Yeah.
So that you can show up in a more powerful way.
Yeah. What I want to teach people is this document right here. I think it would be a good way to wrap this up. But up here, this is what I call my strengths DNA.
Okay.
This is what I would call my step-by-step process. And it's all in this one long, paragraphs. It's like paragraphs of sentences here. You can't see it. It's all in there.
Yeah.
But what I've learned is how to help me and help other people to detail specifically how I want to approach all things, whether it's social media, whether it's parenting, whether it's church service or entrepreneurial, or you want to be a better spouse, be a better friend, be a better son, be a better worshiper of Christ, whatever it is you want to be.
Yeah.
This is your DNA. This is your one way of doing all things. To stop people from believing they have to be one thing at work and a different thing at home and a different thing when they're with their friends or a different thing when they're by themselves or a different thing when they're with their kids. It's like be one person all the time. No more shifting gears because that's a waste of energy.
Yeah.
So this is what I want to get all of your audience to the point where they've got that.
Yeah.
So
now, do you find when people are embracing that of like being their one true self all the time, do you hear reports of your clients telling you like, I have a lot more energy throughout the day? Like,
yes, health improving. I have a client who hired me, okay, obviously results vary, so I'm not making any claims here, but she has told me about certain health situations that have improved because she's walking more authentically. I mean, there's all kinds of science that'll tell you the way you think affects your cells.
Yeah.
What I mean? If you've got lack of ease up here, you've got disease here.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So this is a way to walk where you're actually fueling your body. I have a grandfather, my brother, and my dad. They all died before the age of 55 due to heart disease. My dad and my dad had 2 strokes and a heart attack before he passed away. And my brother had a heart attack. They all passed away before 55. I'm 47. You better believe I'm thinking about this. Like, this is important to me that I'm thinking healthy instead of just, exercising or eating right. I want my mind to be strong and loving on who I am.
Yeah.
These are
a program that you run in your mind absolutely impacts your body.
Oh yes, absolutely. And so if you're going to do your business, then do your business that way.
Yeah.
That way you're, here's your business and here's you, and you need to fuel this business. If the business is not fueling you, you got to go to some external resource to get fuel. And most often our choices here are not good. We choose really bad choices. We make bad choices here because we're just trying to fuel us so we can fuel this to fuel our bank account.
Yeah.
Well, what if the business is a mission, and being who we are is the thing that fuels the mission. So every time we do the mission, it fuels us. We don't have to go to an external source. We just be us and fuel that.
Yeah.
This is why people hire me to coach them privately, is I want them in that alignment all the time. Just be you through this whole process.
Yeah. So not only so if someone's feeling like they constantly have an empty cup, their cup is not filled, they're constantly exhausted, it's probably a sign that they're not being their one authentic self. They might be being different people for different purposes. And it's mentally and physically depleting their reserves, basically.
Yeah, I call it honoring, right? Honoring who you are. I love to do, there's a part of this proclamation here that I have. It says, I love to do everything in a way that honors my desire to move people forward.
Yeah.
I love to do everything, interviews or writing a book or just playing with my kids or whatever. I do everything in a way that honors my desire to move people forward. Right. And then my secondary is to think and create and learn, because I love learning. I love information. Yeah. I love the process of learning, even if I don't do anything with it, So as long as I'm honoring those 2 desires, I become a better connector and a better producer. I have never been more productive in my life And I don't start my day off with a list.
Yeah.
I don't, as much as I'd like to. It sounds cool, but that's
But
not
you
where my
recognize
energy is.
that's not for you.
Right.
It's just not
What
for you.
my list is just, who am I going to inspire today? I can't wait to get to it. So
Yeah.
I'll do a Facebook Live or an Instagram Live or a post or a reel or whatever. And that's gets me going. I'm fired up.
And I'm such a list person. I got a device that allows me to have multiple lists that I revisit frequently.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
where
get
the
so
energy
much joy
begins.
checking off the box, like so much.
Right.
So you can be authentically you and be your best self. And I'm being authentically me, even though we're totally different. And we all have this within us. We just need to know where we should be leaning in. And we'll find more
Yep.
more
Where do I start?
energy, more joy, more results, more peace.
Yeah. Where do I start? If I'm a connector, I connect with somebody. If I'm a mover, I get in front of an audience. If I'm a producer, I get my list together. If I'm a thinker, I get in front of a book, an audiobook, a podcast, and I begin. That's where I start. And once I start there, all the other things flow.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But
It's like adding fuel to the fire to like make all the other things happen after.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for you as a producer, I would never encourage you to just go connect with somebody without having a list first. Right. Or just go and try to move groups of people forward without having a list first, or go read a book without having a list first.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Which is so funny. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for that gift. I know that's going to be really helpful to everyone in the audience, because regardless of where you're at in your business or your life, if you're leveraging social media and you're in a position where you need to show up, you need to create content, you need to be appearing there for other people, you have to know how to show up, right? You have to know how to be your authentic self. So if you want to crush it with authenticity, that's a hard word, grab Eddie's free gift. Now, I understand you have a VIP gift for those who are VIP ticket holders,
Yes.
a unique 3-part training. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, and I'll keep that brief, real simple, is to understand once we understand how do we lead, right? How do we begin? We've got to understand each and every step of that process and how it's unique to us. Mm-hmm. So that you mentioned about the 7.7 billion, I go more in depth on that to understand exactly how unique you really are. Mm-hmm. And then there's a second part to that, what I call it a video, which is to how to take who you are and make what I call a proclamation, where you proclaim to the world, this is how I do things. And this is how I will bring you value. Mm-hmm. And I will proactively claim it for me so mm-hmm. that I never forget this is who I am. Mm-hmm. Because when we doubt who we are, we become something weird.
Yeah.
And you know it. It's just like you just feel it. Your body is drained and de-energized. And so by proactively claiming it for ourselves and proclaiming it to the world, then we let the world know, I'm not going to change who I am. I'm going to be who I am for you mm-hmm. and for me, right? So that's the second part. And then the third part is, what is that step-by-step, what I call a DNA process that you can get access to. Mm-hmm. So that's like, ultimately for me, the value of this information, it shifts the way we think.
Yeah.
So that people stop thinking that they are vulnerable to their external world and start, like, I can just get real for just a second. Mm-hmm. I might even get a little upset. Well, not upset, but passionate about this.
Yeah.
I was raised my whole life to think that whatever my external world wants, I have to meet that need. Mm. What I'm learning is that the external world will now be reacting to my internal world. Mm-hmm. So my external world will now meet me based on who I am. Mm-hmm. I believe that I was designed by God to be a thing. You were designed by God to be a thing. We were all designed by God to be a thing. And our external environment gets to benefit from it, mm-hmm. not change it.
Yeah. Like a light in a dark room.
Yes. And no matter what that light looks like, it's all different. A light looks different for everyone. You be that light as bright as you can. So the external world starts to like encourage it, appreciate it, and want to be a value, like want to get more of it. and give back to you to continuously fuel your internal world. That's what this whole thing is about. This training is for you to change your mind about the fact that your external world is not in charge of you. You are in charge of the external world. Your home, your family, your friends, the people you hang out with, you're in charge.
Yeah.
That's the big message of this VIP content that's where you'll get that shift in the mindset.
Yeah.
That'll shift your body and shift what you do.
I love it.
Excited for that.
I love it. It's so true. You know, they say be the light, but it like truly you can be. And imagine if we all were, how much brighter it would be, right?
Yep.
If we all leaned into that and we realize we shape our world, we shape who's around us, we shape what our future looks like, and being your true self, you're going to build exactly what you want. If you're brave enough.
Honoring who we were created to be. That's all.
I love it.
You know, God's got your back. What else do you need?
I can't think of a better way to end the interview than on that note.
All right.
God's got your back. What else could you need?
Honestly.
Except maybe just understanding the unique way he made you. So grab the free gift so you can do that.
Yep.
And he's got your back and you're in the right place. I love it. Thank you, Eddie. This was wonderful. We're so blessed to have the time with you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Impactful Entrepreneur Show. If you found amazing value here, like, subscribe, and leave us a review to help other people find the high value content that we share, and find us on social media so we can continue the conversation. See you in the next episode.